Happy man there.
Very happy man. Welcome back, but it's actually Thursday at the moment, and we are cracking on with the Mark 1.
We are.
So here on the milling machine, mate, I'm machining some blocks.
Yeah.
See if anyone can guess what they are before I tell you. So these are the lowering blocks on a Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escort that still run the original leaf springs.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is I'm raising the car by taking some off this. The reason it works the opposite, mate, is because these are the blocks. All sounds a bit butchery, doesn't it, really?
It does.
So what you've got is your axle sitting on top of the leaf springs, and when you put these blocks on the leaf spring, the axle sits on top of them, which raises the axle and lowers the car.
Yeah.
So in effect, all you're doing is you're bringing the car and the spring down, and the axle is staying still.
Yeah.
So
a bit strange to think about, but it does check out.
And you're probably wondering, as the Mark 1s and 2s look so good low, why am I raising it? Because it's a bit too low and I can't get it on me drive or over speed humps.
It's a bit scrapey, to say the least, isn't it?
It is, mate. I think that one of the main reasons it was so low, it was lower at the front than it was the rear, which is slightly unusual. I think the reason for that was because of one of the front struts only had one ring on, didn't it?
Yeah, so that was sat a bit lower anyway.
Yeah, and that had a split in it, so it was basically sitting as low as it had to. It was lashed up really on one of them, but the other side had two rings on, but the one side was a little bit higher than the other. It's all a bit crap.
Yeah, so how much are you taking off of these then?
So what we're doing is we are going to raise the front by 20 mil.
Yeah.
So we've basically gone from where the car was sitting, took the measurement on the strut, and we've got two rings which are 10 mil thick each.
Yeah.
And we're just raising it up 20 mil on the front.
Yeah,
and
the front you can adjust in place, can't you? So if you're not happy with it, you can lower it.
Yeah, the front's on a coil over, so we can just adjust the height of that, whatever we want. We're taking 15 mil off these blocks, which will raise the back 15 mil, so I'm hoping that will sort of level it up.
Yeah.
But we'll have a lot. I mean, you can buy these blocks anyway.
Yeah, so these are an actual, by the looks of it, an actual kit you can buy.
You can buy the kit, which usually consists of 2 blocks at whatever height. These are 2-inch blocks.
Yeah.
You can get 1 inch, and they come with the big U clamps to clamp, and the whole thing's clamped together, which is a bit crap, innit?
Well, it's old school, isn't it?
Old school, but it works. I've reconditioned the shocks.
They look good though.
I know I said I weren't going to go mad with this thing. I'm not, but they were a bit nasty, weren't they?
Well,
so we'll have a little look over here. Look,
it's nothing a lick of paint can't sort out.
So these are the gas dampers, the cartridge dampers that go inside the old body.
Yep.
These are the new rings, which we've had done. So they're 10 mil thick each.
Machined out.
This was the old one that was on one. So it was only one, and it's got that bloody split through it. Look.
Yeah, that's no good, is it?
No good, mate. Absolute pants, that is. And the body is over here, so I've done a little bit of put the body in the blaster and give it a little bit of a tickle with the.
So this is the other one because you've.
So this was the nasty one.
Yeah.
So if you see, look, what they'd done was someone had welded this plate in here, which doesn't matter. We won't be going that low. And then they just sat the old ring on top of that.
Yeah.
And I think they'd welded that plate in there because they only had one ring. And the reason they only had one ring is because these are a funny thread. They're a UNS, aren't they? So the normal sleeving kits you get like this are 55 by 1.5, so they're metric and come with their own rings.
Yeah.
So they probably figured, can't get another ring, so we'll weld one ring there, do the other one down the bottom, and that will sort of keep it tight. But the only reason you can't raise it.
So basically, it had to be as low as it would go.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Had to be, mate. So yeah,
sorted that out.
That's all dry now.
Yeah.
So we'll get them rings on there. We'll set them at the height.
You've painted the springs as well.
Painted the
springs. Gone all out.
Stuart's took them, unfortunately, but they have gone back to a nice blue. It's actually Ford Pinto blue.
Pinto blue.
Or it's also the blue that we do the blue rocker covers, isn't it?
Yes, it is, I think.
The Cosy rocker covers.
Yeah.
So Yeah, look nice and neat, mate, won't it, when the wheels are off?
Yeah.
And it's hopefully stop it from corroding.
Well, it just looks, yeah, looks a little bit better while you're in there. You may as well.
May as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So there we go. So I haven't just been doing my own stuff today. I've just quickly got to get that done because Stuart's obviously got to get the car done over the bank holiday weekend, ready for Tuesday, where it goes for.
Bit of a rush, really.
But we've had a good sort out in here, mate.
We have.
So the Lotus is pretty much done.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to be off from today till next Thursday.
I am very sorry,
So we've had to have
mate.
a bit of a... Don't keep
I'm off for
apologising,
a
mate. You're
week
entitled
from
to holiday.
But yeah.
So we've got that Cosworth, the one with the mysterious, horrible noise.
Yeah.
So we've got to investigate that. We've got the one from Spain over there now. All very organised here, haven't we?
Had a little sort out of the benches.
Little sort out. I'm going to be sticking that on the boring bar in a minute and chomping that out for you. Get that all prepped for you for next week. And then over here, mate, we have the Pinto in the box.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, the Crossflow.
Yeah.
Ready to go
All
back to
boxed up.
Cyprus.
Yeah.
All done. 3 boxes just arrived here, mate. These are 24 Ingenium liners.
Bloody hell.
So we're keeping them in stock now.
Yeah, well, it's worth it. And
it is really.
if we don't get any more in, I suppose we can sell them to someone. But yeah.
Well, this is it. We'll now I shall just keep them in stock.
We do seem to get a few of them, don't we?
Yeah, we seem to get a steady trickle of them, so it's just nice to have them, because the last time I come to order, didn't have any.
Yeah.
They'd sold blooming loads of sets in 1 week, so we'll keep them in stock, mate. So, it's now Tuesday. One of the 2 Cosworths that I got last week, that one over there is a standard build there from Spain. And this one here is the one that is supposedly been all done. Now, very brief story on this. The customer bought the car probably 4 or 5 years ago with the engine meant to have all been done, but it was actually sitting just in the car. But he bought the car cheap enough, he's restored it, and he wants to just make sure that the engine is okay, because it is meant to have all been done. So he sent it in here. Apparently it had a tap-in, quite a heavy sort of tapping noise, which sounded on the video like hydraulics, but then on the video, it could be anything. So I thought, we'll just strip it down, I'll measure everything, go through it, see what we can find. But as you all know, guys, we all know what these engines can be like if they've all been done. Not saying they're all like that, but generally, especially these Cosies, absolute nightmare. So what have I found? Well, you see I've got it stripped down, and if we have a look at the main bearings, they don't look wonderful, to be honest with you, and neither do the big ends. They don't look great. They've got some scoring on there. So what I've done is plastic gauged the big ends as they were, and the mains, and actually they're not too bad. The clearances look okay. We've got about 2.5 thou on the mains, which is probably very slightly over what I would give them, but it would be okay. The big ends are about 2 thou, so not bad at all. The oil pump, now, first of all, this is an oil pump, a second-hand oil pump, actually off Steve's old engine. I'm just comparing it to this one, which is in this engine. Now, first of all, if you have a look at the oil pickup, you see the head is meant to be like that, sort of square to the top of the body. This one is very skew-if, so it's been bent good and proper. It looks like it's been dropped, and it's sitting about 1/2 inch lower than it is on the other side. So we're either going to have to try and manipulate that, which I'm not hopeful for, because it could split it, or we might have to remove and replace that 4-wheel drive oil pickup pump. This is the oil pump. Now, what I've done, what I always do, and even on the new ones, we remove all the gubbins, measure the body, measure the housing, check everything, make sure it's all good. And usually these housings, like on this one, there's about 2 thou of clearance there, so you can feel absolutely nothing with that dry. I've obviously dried it with oil, but this one here, which was out of this engine, you can see that, guys, prick in a bucket. There's about 12 or 15 thou of play in there. So that is absolutely rubbish. And what I suspect may have happened, if you can see that, the housing is terrible. But what I'm suspecting is someone has probably replaced, not the pump, but replaced the innards with Pinto ones. And generally the Pinto ones are smaller. Although that housing is about 10 thou bigger than that one. So there's some considerable amount of wear there. Although the customer said the oil pressure was okay, I suspect it's probably got a high pressure spring in there, which has kept the oil pressure up. But if that was a standard pump, that would be hopeless. So we're going to have to replace the pump. Pistons, Wiseco pistons. Good item, really good item. But we can see, bear in mind it's done about 1,200 mile this, but it's got some fairly heavy scuffing on the skirt, especially on one of them. Now that is number 4. And having measured the bores for what the running clearance needs to be for these Wisecos, we're about 1 thou and a half tight on the bores. And this one here is about 2 thou tight. And you can see actually down the bottom there, you can see some scuffing down the edge. So these are a 91.5 mil. So Wiseco do a bit like what Wasner do, and they go up in round figures. So I reckon by the time we've honed a couple of thou out there, they should be good to go. And I'm going to give the customer the option of whether he wants to use these. I've measured that, and it actually isn't any small. It's just sort of scuffed off the PTFE there, and give him the option whether he wants to re-ring it or use them. But obviously it'd be on his head. But I sort of do recommend putting new pistons in, having seen that. Conrods. Now, this is a weird one. Well, not so weird with the Cosworths, to be honest with you. Although the running clearance was okay, we got 2 thou running clearance. Now, this is something you really need to watch out for, not just on the Cosies, although we see it very commonly on the Cosies, but on all engines. You would think 2 thou, I think, was actually just a stroke of luck. It's been ground 0.25 on the big ends, 0.5 on the mains. I've measured these big end journals, and they're actually about 1 thou or so under bottom limit. So someone has ground it over, which is, whoever built it is lucky for them really, because if we measure the housings of these rods, bear in mind I've cleaned these and torqued them up to what they should be using an ARP bolt. You can see that is sort of bottom limit, and it's about 1 thou tight there. And on some of them, especially that number 4, it goes over that. We're running into nearly 2 thou over the top. So what you'll probably find is, guys, is if someone had ground this crank at what it should be in tolerance, say if they did it on the bigger side, it would still be correct, but you'd be running into about 1/2 thou to 1 thou of running clearance, which obviously wouldn't be enough, and it would probably do an end. So that's why you need to be very careful. Don't just rely on the plastic gauge. You need to get the rod housing size and also the main housing size correct as you do the crank. So what we normally do is size the rods, get them where we need to do them, plastic gauge it, and then grind the crank to suit, really, because you need to get all of those dimensions correctly. Don't just rely on plastic gauge, because a couple of these rods are about 1 thou oval. So you probably find with plastic gauge, it might be all right that way, but this way is probably going to be 1 thou tight or 1 thou loose. So yeah, very important that you check that, guys, but we're going to have to size them rods. Nothing's been balanced in this engine anyway, so it's just a straight sort of throw together with new bits, I think. 10 long studs. They're the old style studs, so we're going to have to do some modification. We're going to have to get the Julian Godfrey nuts and blue washers, and I'm going to have to go deeper on some of those because they really are not deep enough. If you have a look in these N10, see that one there is only probably about 10 mil deep. Not good enough at all. But guys, why was it tapping? Well, so far, I can't see any reason for any of the measurements, although they're not correct, for it really tapping. There's no piston slap or anything like that from what I can see. No piston to valve clearance, although the timing was out quite a bit. It's about 8 degrees out. They have removed material off the top of the pistons to get the correct jut out, so that's one thing they did do correct. But what I did find was in the main oil gallery, so down this way, you've got one in the middle, which is blanked off there, full of swarf anyway, but this one here was full of swarf. So that is the one that is going to be feeding the cylinder head. That goes from the main oil gallery, and there was quite a lot of swarf in there, so it was either fully restricted or pretty restricted. So that's going to be the one that lubricates the buckets and fills the buckets with oil, and also lubricates the camshaft. So there's no sign of seizing on the cam, so it was getting some oil at some point, but it's probably not enough to fill the hydraulics. So that's probably where your rattlings come from, guys. So there was a considerable amount of swarf in this. So obviously it's good news for the customer in respect that it's not wasted effort stripping it down. It needed to be stripped down to be cleaned, but it's obviously a strip down when the engine was all supposedly been done. So it's one of them, guys, meant to have all been done, has been done, just ain't been done correctly. So familiar story, I'm afraid. Until probably Thursday when Isaac is back, you have a great evening. Thursday's video, or next video, will be showing the Escort, which is pretty much done, but hasn't gone as swimmingly as we'd have hoped. I'm gonna go and get the door. Take it easy, guys.